位委員，我哋交通事務委員會而家
Colleagues, the meeting of the transport panel is now called to order. We will now elect the chairman of the panel for the year 2012 to 13. And I'd like to draw members' attention to Rules of Procedure 77.6. A member who is the chairman or deputy chairman of a government advisory body in respect of matters which a panel considers to be directly related to the terms of reference of the panel shall not be the chairman or deputy chairman of the panel. And subsection 7, a member shall not be chairman or deputy chairman of more than one panel at the same time. And under Rule 22 of the House Rules and Appendix 4, we have to have a nomination validly nominated by one member and verbally seconded by another member, and also with the member being nominated accepting the offer. I'd like to nominate Mr. Kam-lam. Any seconder? Mr. Jeffrey Lam seconds. So, Mr. Chen, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Are there any other nominations? Yes, Mr. Gary Fan. I'd like to nominate Dr. Kwok Ka-ki. Any seconder? Any seconder? Mr. James Toh. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki might be attending another meeting. Mr. Gary Fan, have you got his acceptance? Do you know if he accepts? Yes, I've got his agreement, so he will accept the nomination. Do we have a third nomination? If not, then we will now proceed to the election process. Staff members will be issuing a ballot paper to members with a chop with a tick, and both candidates will be assigned a candidate number. And please do affix the chop next to the name of the candidate, and in accordance with the nominations made just now, number 1 is Mr. Kam-lam and number 2 is Dr. Kwok Ka-ki. As is a secret ballot, please do not display the ballot paper to any other person, and please close the ballot paper without having to fold it. Is there any member who hasn't been issued with a ballot paper? If members have already filled out the ballot paper, I declare the voting process closed, and the staff members are no longer allowed to issue any new ballot paper, and staff members will be collecting the ballot papers from members. Please put your ballot paper into the ballot box. Please do not leave your seat before the collection of ballot paper is completed. Thank you.
咁而家請提名嘅陳恒斌。
Mr. Chen Hangpan and Mr. Gary Fan, please come up and serve as the monitors, and all the ballot papers will be destroyed as soon as the counting process is completed. Secretary, you may wish to, you can also announce the names as you count the votes. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2.
好，咁係嘛？係啦，得。我而家宣布。
I declare the result of the vote. Mr. Chen Kam-lam got 13 votes. Dr. Kokaki 6. I now declare that Mr. Chen Kam-lam has been elected chairman of the transport panel, so he'll be chairing the election process for the deputy chairman's post. We will now proceed with the election of the vice chairman or deputy chairman of the transport panel for 2012 and 13. We have to have at least one member nominating the candidate. He has to be seconded by another member, and the member will also have to accept the nomination. Dr. Kokaki, I'd like to nominate Mr. Gary Fan. Any seconder? All right, it's been seconded. Mr. Gary Fan, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Any other nominations? Is there any other nomination? If not, then Mr. Gary Fan, you have been elected the deputy chairman. Next, meeting schedule for 2012 and 13. Table before members is a schedule. Basically, our regular meeting will be held at 10:45 of the third Friday every month. Next meeting will be held on the 16th of November. And as you can see, there are 3 dates on which there will be clashes, and we will have to reschedule it. And that's December the 21st. That's close to Christmas. And in order not to schedule meeting near Christmas, we propose to reschedule it to the 14th of December. Is a Friday, 10:45. All right. February the 15th, that will be rescheduled to the 22nd of February, is a Friday at 10:45. If there is no objection, then let's fix it. And also for the 24th of May, well, as the 17th is a public holiday, so we'll be rescheduling it to the 24th of May. Is again a Friday at 10:45. If there is no objection, then we'll put it on the schedule. Yes, Mr. Michael Tin. Thank you, Chairman. For the proposed regular schedule of 10:45 of the third Friday, but then for May the 24th, that will clash with the AGLS panel. So all you need to do is to identify another date, because for the first year, at least for me, I'd like to attend all the panel meetings as far as possible. Yes, I'm sure different members might have clashes at different extents. So we'll take a look after the meeting to see if we can find another date and time. And there's still some time to go before the May meeting, so we'll see what can be done about it. Okay, so we'll inform members in due course. Items for discussion at the next meeting. The administration has not proposed any item from October meeting, but then for the November meeting, the administration has proposed 3 items. I'll read that out for members' information. Number 1 is about barrier-free access. So it's about public footbridges, elevated walkways, and also pedestrian subways. And second is about bus-to-bus interchange stops along Tuen Mun Highway. And number 3 is about traffic improvement works in downtown Tuen Mun Highway. So 3 items. The administration is also conducting a review on the MTRCL's fare adjustment mechanism, and members of the public are invited to make their views known before the 31st of October 2012, and that's also included as item 5 on the list of issues suggested to be considered. And there is a suggestion that a public hearing be held on that. So what we can consider is whether or not we want to hold a special meeting, and if members find it agreeable, we can schedule a meeting. Yes? Mr. Wang Kok-heng. Thank you, Chairman. Well, Chairman, I do not have any objection as to what you just proposed. Concerning item 7 of the list of items suggested to be considered, I'd like to discuss with the administration. I hope that the administration can give us a progress update on the buying back of Cross Harbour tunnels. Well, for the 3 items that I told you, and also a proposed public hearing, I'd like to listen to your views first. After that, we can then deal with matters arising and also motions that members would like to move. Yes, Mr. Tan Kah Pil, you raised your hand just now. Yes, Chairman. Yes, of course, I agree that we should hold a public hearing on the fare adjustment mechanism by the MTRCL, but then can we extend the consultation period so that we can at least have it until the end of November or December, because the time schedule is too pressed or too tight. Dr. Kwok, I think the matter has been discussed in the community for a long while. I suggest that we convene a special meeting as soon as possible. As some members have said, the consultation should be extended, and of course it would depend on the response from the administration. All right, on the 16th of it's already the 16th of October, and if we have to schedule a special meeting, we will also have to notify the deputations. That will take us 2 to 3 weeks, and therefore I think it's absolutely necessary. We should also write to the administration, because it should not play tricks like that. When there is a new term of this council, we should also be given time to discuss the issue. And you might have noticed that the KMB has already suggested that it would be increasing its fares, and it would also be restructuring its routes. I don't know when we can discuss it. I'm afraid we won't be able to cover that at our November meeting. I suggest that we should invite the KMB to come along as soon as possible, and the THB and the Transport Department should also invite it to discuss it with us, because by the time when they submit papers to us, everything is already finalized and nothing can be done about it.
I will propose that we discuss the 2 items in our special meeting. Well, I'm going to relay members' wishes for the extension of the consultation period to the administration. But what's within our control is whether we are going to have a special meeting and whether there should be a public hearing. Agreed? So, okay, let's make the necessary arrangements. I've been told by the clerk that on the 2nd of November, it's a Friday, there's a slot at 9:30 a.m. Well, it's past the consultation deadline. Can we secure an earlier slot? Well, even though the deadline has been exceeded, we are going to present the views to the administration all the same. Well, can the Secretariat find us a time slot earlier than the deadline of the consultation exercise? We can try. But it would not be very much earlier than this one. And we need to make preparation for a public hearing. We'll try to find if there's any slot towards the end of October. Yes, please do. All right. For the next meeting, it's to be held on the 16th of November. We are going to have 3 items. And as far as possible, we are going to have a special meeting at the end of October or early November. And we are going to discuss, or we are going to hold a public hearing on the fare adjustment mechanism of MTRC. Mr. Wong Kok Heng, matters arising? Well, item number 7 of the outstanding issues. We would like the administration to tell us the progress of the buyback of the tunnels, cross-harbor tunnels. It's an item left over from the last term. Chairman, also please talk to the administration about this, arising from the accident near Laman Island. We know there is the no-fault insurance coverage for land-based transportation, but not for marine transportation. We would like the administration to look into this. Mr. Tangabil, regarding 11th, regulation of taxi fare and the imposition of charging fare according to the meter. Taxi operators may put in an application for a fare increase very soon, and they would like to have a surcharge based on fuel costs. I wonder if we can add this in the list of outstanding issues. Thank you, Chairman. We are going to convene a special meeting on the fare adjustment mechanism of MTRC. As regards the fare increase of bus operators and the restructuring or reorganization of routes in Hong Kong, we cannot delay this much further. And that is to say, the community must face the issues related to the fact that some bus routes have very low patronage. I hope this will not drag on for too long. If we cannot discuss this in November or in the special meeting, that this will be taken up only in December. I wonder if we can take this up in one of the meetings to be convened in November. And I'm concerned about two railway routes. Firstly, the Northern Loop. When I was the chairman of KCRC some 10 years ago, the government mentioned this, and now nothing has come through. And they are talking about land resumption problems. I would like to know the progress and what's still outstanding for this to move forward. And also the transportation system in Tuen Mun is a legacy of the last century. It's not very efficient. It's land intensive. In other countries, this system is only suitable for a city with fewer than 300,000 people, and now it's over 500,000 people there, and the government hasn't come up with any improvement measures. I don't know whether all these matters should be taken up by the subcommittee on railway. I'm new here. I hope we will be given a chance to, at a higher level or at the panel, to discuss such issues. For railway infrastructural projects, we have a subcommittee on railways. I believe it will be the right forum to follow up such issues. Are we going to discuss the issues in the subcommittee, or shall we be discussing the broad direction here and leave the details to the subcommittee? Well, you mentioned the Northern Loop. We can ask the administration to update us on the progress, and after that's done, we can refer the matter to the subcommittee on railway for necessary follow-up action. As for policy issues you mentioned, I think we can discuss those with members here in the panel. We have Mr. Chan Han Pan, Mr. Albert Chan, Mr. Wu Chi Wai, and Mr. Yik Chi Man. So Mr. Chan Han Pan first. I agree that there should be a detailed discussion on railway development. There are other railway lines such as Tuen Mun-Tsuen Wan link and other routes. I believe it's better that the policy follow up issues on policies. And we also look at ferry service for the outlying islands. And in our discussion, we should also cover safety. This is important because residents of outlying islands rely on the ferry for outbound traffic. So I propose an early discussion. Mr. Albert Chan, I don't know whether you are going to set up the subcommittee on railways at this time or at the next meeting, or we are going to make arrangements to set up the subcommittee. There are many issues to discuss. Let's do it quickly. And time is limited. The interchange facility for bus passengers in Tuen Mun will be commissioned later this year. It would have a great impact on Tuen Mun residents. We need to get more information as early as possible. We're going to discuss it next time. Mr. Yik. And there's a broad policy on the restructuring of bus routes. Maybe it will be covered partially by the Tuen Mun interchange facility. Let's look at the overall policy concerning interchange service and facilities. And number 8 and number 9, we have one on bicycle. Number 9 is on green transport, but it's not really covering bicycle as a green mode of transport. So when we discuss number 8 and number 9, I hope the administration would also cover bicycle as a green mode of transport. Mr. Yik, I support the views expressed by the other two members. Before we discuss a fair increase of bus routes, let's talk about the reorganization and rationalization of bus routes. If you look at Hennessy Road and Nathan Road bus routes, the patronage is not very high, so reorganizations can help alleviate pressure on fare increase. And in the last, it was back in 1997 that there was the previous comprehensive transport study, and we have seen increases in population and new towns coming on stream. And so people's transportation needs have changed, and recently that's the introduction of the $2 concession for the elderly passengers. So there have been changes in the pattern of usage. So maybe it's time for the administration to conduct a fourth comprehensive transport study to see how different modes of transport can play their respective roles and complement each other's roles. All right, other comments? Any other comments? Well, members have proposed many issues for which follow-up action is required, and members would like to quickly look into issues such as ferry safety, bus route reorganization, railway, taxis, and so on. Shortly, I will be talking to the Secretary for Transport and Housing in a meeting. All your issues will be brought up for the attention of the Secretary, so that if they can provide us with information or papers at an early stage, it should be done quickly. Or perhaps we can also invite bus companies and MTRC to attend our special meetings for the purpose of exchanging views. So I will be talking to the Secretary. After that, I'll coming back to tell you of the progress. Okay? Members also suggested that for the setting up of the subcommittee on railways, I'll work out the timetable with the Secretariat. I believe you'll be inclined to follow the past practice, i.e. we will set up a subcommittee on railway to follow up on issues related to railway projects. I'll work out with the Secretariat on the timetable and see when the subcommittee can convene its meeting and when you can conduct elections within the subcommittee. Any other questions? If not, I would like to give members a reminder. We are going to have two meetings soon. A special meeting at the end of October or on the 2nd of November in the form of a public hearing. And then on the 16th of November at 10:45 a.m. we are going to have our next regular meeting. If there are no further questions, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.